Thank you, Tammy.
Okay, here we go, people. This session is called Being There for Others or Be There for Others. And the cafe team, planned a really good show for you today. So there's a little bit of learning and then some guests. We have guest stars and then a poll so that we know you're paying attention. So buckle up and here we go for today's presentation. All right. You could go to the next one, I think. There we go. So this presentation, the good part of it is based on the Personal Safety Net's book and website, which you can see here on this slide, and it also was sent out in the midweek email from Nicole. Great resources for you to work on your pillars. So great thing to refer back to if you would like more information or to do some activities on this topic. You may remember this slide from last week if you attended last week, where we talked about the 8 pillars of support. And these pillars could be things like family, they could play a role, or friends, or services. So it's not always a person that's a pillar of support, but all the resources that you choose that come together from various aspects of your life to support you. And this makes me think of something that I wanted to tell you. So when you go to the airport, I mean, this is related, but just go with me for just a second. When you go to the airport and you're going through security and you have to go through the thing that you stand in, you put your feet on, you put your arms up. I'm telling you, you can be your own pillar. I love that thing. You put your feet wide, you put your hands up, and you're like, ah, and all you need is a cape. So think about that too when you're thinking about your pillars is you know, do you have a skill, a particularly great skill that makes you a pillar? Could be your own pillar. That was not in the script, but it came to me. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, you may remember this, and last week we did it all neat where each word came in one at a time, but this time you get to see it all together, all at once. So the words along the bottom, those are the underpinnings of success. So things that shore you up, that keep you sturdy, and that kind of keep your pillars sturdy. And they're things that you can practice in tangible ways. And then on the vertical, so going up the trees, are the 8 pillars of resistance. So these are the things that support you when you need to bounce. So when inevitable challenges come, whether they're in your own life or in someone that you care about in their life, these are the things that will help to shore you up. Okay, next slide, please. So this is pretty interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. I had not seen it before. I think all of us are familiar with the fight or flight response where your body is flooded with adrenaline when you experience some kind of stress because it's getting you ready to physically do something. But there are other components, other responses to fear that happen also. So another one is to freeze. So you may recognize this. I certainly recognize this because I do this sometimes where you comply, shut down, justify, or rationalize. And then finally, there's some people who have the capacity to just up and face it. And planning will help you in that ability to face a fear. So as humans, we're biologically hardwired to treat every perceived threat in an extreme way with one of these 4 reactions. They're efficient and they protect us from danger. But if you look at the grid, you have on the top things that you're engaged, so facing or fighting, and on the bottom, you're disengaged, like flight or freezing. And then also to the left, things that repel, like fight or flight, or things that attract like face or freeze. So you can kind of get a feel for how your response to fear might set you up for success in navigating a challenge or having to face something you're afraid of. Okay, Next slide, please. So last week, well, this week in Nicole's midweek mail to you that had all of the resources from last week, there was a document sent to you that helped you to take a look at your traits and skills, the inventory of your traits, traits and skills, and to help you identify the skills and attributes you have, and in the absence of a trait or skill, who do you know that might possess that skill or provide it to you? And remember, that could be a person in your life, but it also could be a resource. So it can be an organization or a business or something like that. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything here. Okay, so this is a slide that shows you that inventory. It was also in the reminder of today's cafe. So, and I would guess, I betcha we're gonna send it out again in the upcoming midweek email. So if you didn't see it before, keep an eye out for it. But you can see right here all the different things that it just helps you to identify and really think about who in your life or what organization or person in your life may fill one of the needs that you have. Okay. So at this time, I would like to introduce Janelle, or pass it over to Janelle, and she will introduce you to our guest today.
Sorry, had to unmute. Thank you, Tammy. It's great to be here. I have two guests that really stood out to me when I was in our Friday breakfast club. We were talking about trust and just who is in your safety net and how do you, I guess, create that for yourself? How important is it? Those kinds of things. And we were talking, and I really loved what Becky said. And so she's here to tell her story, a little bit about her experience of discovering her need for interdependence and how she created her safety net right now. And knowing that this safety net thing changes, right? The people that we have in our net sometimes aren't always there the next time we need something. I don't know, Tammy, it looks like I'm wondering how we can get Becky on the screen.
Oh, that's okay. You don't need me on the screen.
Oh, there she is. Becky, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with safety net? Maybe you never called it that, but now you get the language.
Sure.
Yeah.
Be glad to. Hello.
Mhm.
I guess for starters, my safety net is it's in two layers. And at this point in my life, it's pretty well developed. And I think the underlying safety net is my faith and belief in God, his promises to provide and protect according to his will. So that underlies and undergirds my safety net. And so I guess my spirituality and faith is really what keeps me grounded at times. And I never really thought much about, of course, I didn't think much about getting older, living longer at all when I was younger. I really didn't. I knew that I needed to save and this, that. And so I did some things throughout my working career, started an IRA. They were all pretty much financial, though. Started an IRA, later contributed to 401k, and, just kind of moved along life. And I had husbands that provided for me. And I really didn't have any I never had wanted for anything. So I just didn't think about planning that far ahead. And so let's fast forward now. And this was about 4 years ago. And I was very depressed. I was divorced. I was still working. I didn't like my job. I had isolated. I just got up and went to work every day, came home and did almost next to nothing. I was isolating. And then I got to worry about what was going to happen to me. And I was lamenting to a friend who told me, you need to stop isolating. one day you will need someone to help you and no one will be there because you won't know anyone. And I thought, oh, I'd always pull myself up my bootstraps, but I was finding that my bootstraps were broken. They weren't working as well anymore. So that was a real wake up call for me. So I started being more social. I renewed some friendships, not so much so that someone would help, although that was in the back of my mind, but also I was lonely. I was lonesome. So I went back to church more regularly, renewed my faith. I reached out to a somewhat estranged brother. And then as I developed these friendships and relationships and invested time and energy into them, I got the opportunity to start helping others. And I thought, wow, okay, this feels good. And I think my motive at the beginning to find someone to help me started to turn into find someone that I can help. And that was really just an experience for me. So I said, okay. So I said, I need to start looking at this safety net thing. So I found all the 401ks. I'd had several jobs, looked at what I had, rebalanced my portfolio, and started reading more on care support as I live longer. And about 2 years ago, I lost my job. And I thought, oh, okay, it's really important now. So it was a shock and an adjustment, another wake up call. So after coming out from under the covers about that, I got busy, signed up for Social Security, Medicare, started my pensions, took about a year, all of that. And I'm still working on my safety net. I was blessed to have the opportunity at the company I last worked for. They offered a group long-term care policy. So I took that. So I have long-term health insurance, long-term care insurance. And yeah, and now I have a part-time job that I'm working just really to broaden my horizons, to just actually keep my toe in the working world so that I can, if I want to go to work more than part-time, I can do that. I continue to be social. The Friday morning cafe is just really a mainstay for me now, the coffee club. And I continue to look for others to help. And there have been times in these last 4 years where I've needed help and I've called on others who have been there. So starting 4 years ago, I had just the bare bones. And now I feel that I have a fairly well-developed safety net. There's still more work to do. It's something, as Janelle said, it changes over time. As my situation changes, I may add some here, take away some there. I'll just roll with it. So I think, and the other things I do to help my safety net be effective is I continue to reconcile with my brother, and I exercise. I try to eat good, take care of my health, and I have also, my cousin and my brother have been blessed, and they have homes I could stay in if I needed. So yeah, I continue to monitor things, try to live within my means, and deepen my friendships. And help others when I can, and always am grateful to God. So that's my story.
Becky, thank you so much for letting us in a window of your life. And thank goodness for your friend to kind of, wake up and say, hey, sit by yourself and be isolated. And you just took that so seriously and got motivated, and you're quite inspiring. Thank you so much for your honesty.
And I found a new psychiatrist who got me on some drugs that are working better. That was another thing I had to take care of related to my self-care and my health. I had to conquer my depression.
Yeah. I really think that Tammy, your addition of being your own pillar as well, I think is in this story for sure. Taking care of yourself and self-care and all that, but also that you're resourceful and, you have gifts to offer others, and being a safety net is also part of having a safety net, is what I hear from your story. So thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
So we're going to move on to Judith Frye. She has a couple experiences where she needed something and how she became resourceful, I think is what you're going to tell us, Judith. If we can switch over to Judith, I don't know how that happens, but
Judith just needs to talk and she'll pop up since no one spotlighted.
very good. Thank you, Judith.
I'm talking, and while you're waiting for me to just pop up, let me begin two short anecdotes regarding the use of this personal safety net. Like some others, I discovered the personal safety net while during the pandemic. I was looking on the web, and it really helped me put in words some of the things that I was lacking in terms of resources. And so I've got sort of two examples of how specific tools in the safety net really helped me. First of all, there was a power outage. My husband was in Albuquerque. I had to go somewhere and I didn't know how to get the garage door open and I didn't want to drive through it. So I thought, pillar, community resources. Who's in my community that can help me? And I live in a community where people are pretty isolated. The lots are pretty big. And I really don't know the names of all my neighbors. And so I went to the community block watch list and figured out the name of the man who kind of nodded because we pick up our mail out on the road at about the same time. And I called him and I said, I'm here by myself. I don't know how to get the automatic garage door opener open when there's no power. Is that something you know how to do? Would you come over and help me? He did. I was free. Later, when I had power, I baked him cookies. But without that list and thinking, okay, I would have just panicked. I thought, no, community resources. Who is in my community? Who can help me? So then I started to look more carefully at some of the tools on there. And the one that I found most useful is the one that we've sent out to people today. And we've been referencing this attributes and skills inventory because it tells you where you need another pair of hands around that safety net, okay? And I realized, you know, I mentioned that husband that's usually in LA or Albuquerque and seldom here. Well, I realized what I really needed was reliability. Somebody that I can count on all the time, not just when they're in town. And so I have a special problem. I have some cataracts that need surgery and they won't let you take an Uber home. You can drive to any other doctor's sort of appointment, but when they're doing procedures, they won't let you take an Uber. And so I knew that I was shopping, and the site has some very good resources to help you shop for people, how you make your needs known, and where to be looking for people to help you. So we were in discussion here on the community cafe in our small discussion groups last week, and I'm not going to mention the name of the individual because I didn't get her permission, but I shared that this resource has been so good for me and it's helped me to learn what I have to shop for. And what I'm shopping for right now is somebody I could rely on to take me home from doctor's appointments when they're doing a procedure where you're not allowed to drive yourself afterwards. And sure enough, one of the other people, it was fated, one of the other people in my small discussion group has the same issue because family can't be always relied upon to do that. And so now we've exchanged contact information. We're deciding we can trust each other. I've just called the doctor to get the preliminary appointment, but I feel I'm going to have a reliable drive home from getting that cataract surgery. And I probably wouldn't have been bolstered or thought about what to even call what I was missing and have the tools to be able to go out and find that without this personal safety net material. So I really urge people after today, if you haven't already, just jump in with 2 feet and look at what's on this site because there's a lot of helpful stuff. And that is the end of our commercial.
Yeah. Judith, you're so concise and awesome. Thank you for your stories. I think it all brings it to life, right? What this is not just an intellectual exercise, it's real life. So thank you for sharing yours. Back to you, Tammy.
All right, then. So we have a couple more slides here and then the poll for you as promised in the beginning. So one of the things that may come up is building friendship. So if you do have a gap in your safety net or you're missing a pillar, you might need to brush up your building friendship skill. And Becky has logged off already, but she really brought up something important about that. She noted that when she was alone and starting to reach out to other people, that she invested time and energy in others, which then led her to being able to help. And she said, if you caught that, it took her 4 years to kind of get that in place. So if you're an immediate gratification person like me, you need to hold on and let the process work. But some of the things we talk about on here is other people might be nervous about making friends too. So take that into account. If somebody maybe seems like they're put off or not interested in being friends, they might just be nervous. Judith brought up another place. So we have some places that you might share common interests like volunteering, joining a club, online resources, social media, that kind of thing. Judith brought up community block watch, and I thought that was brilliant because what a nice place to just start the process. Sometimes just being able to ask or give help in a situation like that is the beginning, like the little bud for your friendship. And so many people like Becky want to help. They are looking for opportunities to help. So asking is swell. Then practicing your conversational skills. So listening, asking open questions, eye contact, all those tried and true techniques that people enjoy when they talk to you. And then at the bottom here, just what makes you feel like you can trust someone. And one important little nugget here is sometimes you might trust someone in a certain area as maybe the pillar that you're asking them for. So for instance, my husband does accounting. I would trust him 100% with accounting, but I wouldn't have him write a book. I wouldn't have him write my life story. But think about that too, that trust doesn't necessarily mean an open door to trusting in all facets, but maybe in certain things in your life. And then how to create that trust with somebody. And I think that's a good one to go back to Becky and just think about that as a process and not something that usually happens right off the bat. All right, we promised in the beginning of this cafe, we promised a poll, and guess what? Here it comes. All right, Janelle.
No, that's me, I think.
Okay.
So thanks.
I'm going to
Thanks so
interrupt
much,
for
Tammy.
1 second, Susan, if that's
Do it.
okay. And
Do
I think
it.
it's a good time to stop the recording.
Sure.
Yeah, if we're going to the
Absolutely.
poll. Okay.
Sounds like a good idea.